Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Unwind with Teddy. Yes, I'm still Unwind with Teddy. Stay right there. Don't bow to pressure. Yes. A little birdie told me that somebody's scrambling. Don't let up. Stay right there. Don't bow to pressure. No matter what that individual concocts. Because they said in a now deleted video that one of the things that they're very good at is persuading. Let's put up the fireplace. That's right. One of the things that they are very good at is persuading. To the point that they think they can convince anyone of their side because they always win. Don't give up. Stay right there. Don't bow at all to any pressure. That's right, the countdown is on. Oh, we're going to come back to the fireplace, but, we might as well show folks where we're at. Google subpoena response deadline. The clock is ticking. 22 hours, 52 minutes, 20 seconds. Let's go back to our fireplace. In all honesty, so that you hear something just a little bit different than you heard last night. If Google has a deadline of November 15th to respond to a subpoena request for information about a defendant in this case, Danielle Robertson. Let's get it clear. Because that is the account that was named on the subpoena. Danny Robertson YouTube. They are likely to comply with the legal requirement by providing the requested information. Now, if you joined me last night, you saw what I posted from Google. There's no need to go over that again. But that requested information within the specified time frame, yes, they are likely to comply with the legal requirements by providing such requested information. Now, so what typically happens in such situations? 1, verification and processing. So Google's legal team will review the subpoena or have reviewed the subpoena to ensure it is valid. Fair use commentary. Oh, did I say that? Yeah, I'm giving, my opinion. And I'm also providing factual information based on Google's, what they post. Okay. I'll continue. So, verification. And within their legal obligations to comply. Now, they may verify jurisdiction and scope. And then it's called data collection. So Google will gather the requested data, ensuring it falls within the limits of the subpoena. Turn it down. If the subpoena is too broad or requests information that Google cannot legally provide, such as data protected by privacy law, they may raise objections or seek clarification. We are very, very close to the deadline. A day away. So wouldn't some of that have already taken place, like raise objections or seek clarification from either the plaintiff? Now, remember last night I touched on that they would contact the individual or individuals, the account holder, so that they can make them aware of the process and release of any information. Don't you think that they would be in touch with them, both parties, by now? Or if it's straightforward and there really isn't that much to clarify, well, then it may just be provided. Okay. However, if the subpoena is too broad or requests information, we talked about this last night, that Google cannot legally provide, such as, I said, data protected by privacy laws. Yeah, I did say this just a few minutes ago. Seek clarification. Then there's compliance. If the subpoena meets all legal requirements, Google will produce the requested information by the deadline. This could include user data, activity logs, emails, or other relevant material, depending on the request. Notification. Well, depending on the nature of the subpoena and the jurisdictional rules, Google might notify the defendant or the account holder about the request, unless explicitly prohibited by a gag order or law. So I hear is someone trying to persuade Google not to release information? I wonder who that could be. I wonder, could that be the person who says they're very good at persuading and always winning? I thought there were layers. Well, Google knows how to get in touch with that individual, right? If there's a subpoena, they're going to what? Notify them. They might, but from what I gather, that may have already taken place or is going back and forth. I wonder. Aloud. Then there are legal challenges. If Google has concerns about the scope or validity of the subpoena, they might file a motion to quash or request a modification, potentially delaying their response. Again, November the 15th is Friday. If they are going to challenge the subpoena, if Google has concerns about the scope or validity of the subpoena, and if they are going to file a motion, don't you think that would probably be either filed, or do you think it's going to show up right at the last minute? Because if a motion is filed, then a judge has to rule on that. And if there's nothing that has been done, then the date will come and Google, well, that's the date they've been given to comply. They've had a month, 30 days. That's right. So a lot could have taken place within this last 30 days, or let's just say 28 and a half. Have they requested a modification? Have they done anything to delay their response? Do you think we might hear about that before the 15th? Unless there are complications, such as a legal challenge that I'm speaking of right now, Google will likely meet the November 15th deadline to avoid penalties and being held in contempt of court. I'm going to pause for a moment, and then I'm going to continue talking about this. To my moderators, Vicky Black, Baby Juju, email me right now at unwindwithteddy@gmail.com. That's any of you who want to just drop a line, ask a question, make a comment that perhaps you don't want to have put in the chat. Let's take a look at some of these responses so far. And good evening. Wednesday night. Throwing up some names. Junebug, Joanne, Spirit. Oh, let's see what is being said here. All the way up. All right. Joanne says, I wonder why Google is waiting till the 11th hour. We don't know if maybe they're going back and forth. And maybe someone is, trying to persuade them why they shouldn't release the information. Stay right there. Don't bow to pressure. Because you see, this individual, it's only an act. That's what they do. Persuade, plead, come up with a reason why the information shouldn't be released. But you see, Google doesn't have, their confession. No, not yet. Spirit says, Joanne, because it will show Google was breaking their own rules. the robot's channel should have been deleted months ago. She knows exactly how to walk right on the edge. I don't know, Joanne, who asks, I wonder if her other channels are included. If you're watching on X, follow me. If you are over on Instagram, let's check, find out. There you go, Annette. Facebook, still having connectivity problems from StreamYard. Sometimes it works. Well, we'll figure it out. Go ahead. You can give us a like. She mainly does her dirt on her backup channels. Well, you could say that, but it depends on who she is doing her dirt on. All of her channels. And remember, even all of the dirty deletes, Google has access to those. Yeah. All of those scrubbed videos. But now we're talking about what the plaintiff needs to prove her case. No sleep tonight. Danielle made a video back in 2022 when she first went after me. And she put it on a premiere. And she kept moving the time around. She'd post 7 o'clock, then move it to 7:30 or 8. And then after she did that for a number of hours until it got late, then she posted the time as the following day. And it was interesting to me because a number of people would be waiting for her to go live to talk about me. But then she'd come up with some excuse why she couldn't get the video together. And then finally, on one of her videos I guess you could say videos, that she posted on Station Head, a now deleted Station Head video. She said, some choice, very colorful language directed at me. She said, I hope you don't get any sleep. A little F, a little B, a little I don't give to this or that. She was playing a game. You see, it was all new to me. Till finally, after going through that, this would be initially. I said, no, wait a minute. This is a pattern. She's doing this deliberately. I told my audience, I'm not staying up all night waiting to hear this first or second video about me. I said, I'm just not going to. I'm not going to be up all night waiting for her not to post the video as a way to tire me out. Well, she's up all night. Most likely on a different time zone. So let's suppose she's on the West Coast, California, perhaps. That's 3 hours earlier. So if she schedules, her videos and she keeps moving it across all these time zones, for her, 8 o'clock is my 11. You see? Wherever she is, could be 2 hours, could be the same. I don't know. But I suspect she's in a different time zone than I am. So, no sleep tonight? She'll be up all night. Tomorrow night. If she isn't on her, keyboard, going back and forth, trying to persuade someone. Joanne says, of course, she has been pleading to Google on a daily, trying to vilify Kimmy. Now, that's all alleged. I shouldn't say that. But there's only one problem for the robot, you say. She avoided the court. Things are not in her favor over the judgment ruling. I wonder if they ask her anything regarding the lawsuit. Not just Google or YouTube, but anything related specifically in the lawsuit. Because remember, she's trying to make everyone think that she hasn't been served any complaint of a lawsuit, that Danielle Robertson never received any such summons from the U.S. Marshal Service. I wonder how she would respond to Google. If they ask her about it. Would she lie if asked? Deny not having any knowledge? That's not going to be such a good look. Joanne says she's been using ChatGPT, writing Google every day, allegedly. sending them clips of Kimmy in an attempt to defend herself. Yet she didn't defend herself in a court of law in which she lost. That's interesting. You say that part. The clips, because wouldn't some of those clips have been connected in some way to the actual complaint? You know, the addendums or the exhibits A through O? Hmm. Why would she defend herself? If that's not her. Someone's most likely in touch with Google. Whoever they reached out to, if they've already are in talks. You know, wherever those emails are coming from, back and forth, if they are back and forth with Google, wouldn't they have reached out to her on the provided email address and her respond to Google using that? So Google can keep this chain of conversation, this thread. Oh, that has an IP, right? Even if it's a proton. But maybe it isn't. You see, Google would reach out first, right? And if someone responded, then that means they can be reached, they can be touched. Unless they want to ignore Google, do you think they would ignore Google and wouldn't respond? Because we have to say allegedly, right? Oh, I think someone, if Google reached out, I think they're going to respond. Mhm. All right. What else? If this Danielle Robertson is trying to persuade Google not to give up the information, and there's, other, let's say, supporting evidence, that would, let's say, bolster who gonna check me, boo? Who gonna check me, boo? Who gonna check me, boo? Well, if Google has reached out to Danielle Robertson, you've been checked. Even if it hasn't gone, resolved yet, you've been checked because they've reached out to you, if that's the case. They're checking up on you. That's called check. So you're getting checked right now, if that's the case. Because Google has the upper hand, not you, Danielle. Although you say you're able to persuade. No one can persuade like you. Why would she use, let's just say, someone else on the account? Are they going to convince Google? Follow me here. That this person does not exist? Daniel Robertson, watch this. So you mean to tell me that someone who is not going to admit that there is a Daniel Robertson is going to persuade Google not to release the information and defend, quote unquote, Daniel Robertson? I thought that Danny Robertson said she's nowhere on the account. And if it came to that, them reaching out to the account, that they are going to deny. So I wonder, in their denial, since she said she's not on the account, then let's assume she's not responding. Then someone else, again, follow me based on what she has said, if you want to believe it. So what are they doing? Are they just saying, well, who made those videos? Or why shouldn't this information be released? Or I wonder what the questions are. If they need to get clarification or get to the bottom of something or notify the person on the account. That just would seem kind of awkward. If somebody is going back and forth to persuade Google not to release information about the account, but the subpoena is Google Danny Robertson account. Well, who is that talking on Danny Robertson videos all day and all night? Hundreds of them. Are they going to deny that person exists? Who are they representing? Who is that? Because that is the face or faceless anonymous individual, but the voice and the videos that are being made on Google's platform. And they get paid each month by Google. So don't you think they would have a little bit of splaining to do? I wonder how she or somebody else is going to persuade Google not to release the information if they begin to tell lies to Google. Because if Google catches them in one lie, well, that's it. So, they would have to keep the lies straight. So, if it's not Danielle, then Danielle is going to be in close proximity to that individual who is speaking to Google. In proximity, I mean, with technology, they could either, see the emails, the chats, the conversation, kind of like what happened in April of this year. Yeah, when there was a person who was in a PPO hearing with myself. But there was somebody else on the line. Oh, you mean Danielle? Oh, that's who it was, I believe, because the evidence is out there. Oh, yeah. So, if she's not the individual who's going back and forth with Google, she knows who it is. And they know who she is, even though she says they're going to deny she exists. Or could she have just told us all of that hooey to make us believe that there's all these layers and she's nowhere on the account? Is that why, if Google is in touch, that she doesn't want people to know the information? Because it might just point directly to her and not all these layers. Well, we don't know though, do we? But that's something to think about, right? I mean, if someone is trying to persuade Google not to give up the information, and remember, she said she'll never be found out. Basically, she'll do anything to try to persuade Google. If it means lying, it's okay. For her identity not to become known. Mm-hmm. So, in this situation where again, this is my opinion, where a defendant, i.e., Danielle Robertson, is attempting to persuade Google not to comply with a subpoena. Maybe there's some things that are important to understand. Legally. Google is a large corporation. Well, we all know that, don't we? Right? That operates strictly within the confines of the law, particularly regarding subpoenas. So if the subpoena is valid and enforceable, Google's obligation to comply generally outweighs any personal persuasion attempts by the defendant, Danielle Robertson. Now, there's always this slim margin that somehow Danielle is just that good at persuasion. Maybe she's going to persuade Google or this group or people or whoever she's in communication with, no doubt. Somehow going to persuade Google that the subpoena is invalid. There's something about it. Although it has, stamped a judge and all of that. And she didn't respond to the summons or complaint. So I wonder how she's going to explain that away. Or the people. Are they going to say, we just don't know about this case? That's the wrong Danielle, or that's not Danielle, or no. But we can talk about Danielle Robertson's videos, though. Well, isn't the lawsuit because of that? Google has a responsibility to respond to court orders unless there are legitimate legal grounds to challenge the request. I mean, it's just not happenstance or random, or like they can't, or there has to be a really legitimate reason why they would challenge it. I mean, they have lawyers, their team will look over it to see if the subpoena is valid within certain guidelines. So I wonder aloud if any attempts to block the compliance are being made right now. Like whoever's on the account, have they filed any motion to quash? The last time I looked, and I didn't look today, I looked yesterday at Pacer. I didn't see anything about any motion filed outside of Kimberly Smith's, her motion for default judgment, but outside of that, I didn't see anything. So, are they going to do that at the last minute? You know, Danielle Robertson, that's her pattern. To do things right at the last minute. And I mean literally the last minute. So, will she exhaust all that time, or someone on that account going back and forth with Google if Google has reached out to them? Keep going, right until the deadline. Trying to persuade, convince Google not to disclose the information. This is fair use commentary. This is not a conspiracy. This is stay right there. Don't bow to pressure. Analyze this and unwind with Teddy. Night Talk. Yeah. So, do you think, like right at the last minute, emotion, something to quash with an argument that the subpoena is violating their rights to privacy? Or maybe that it's invalid, or, just something about the subpoena is something is wrong. It's too broad. Again, it's invalid. Well, that would require a court to rule on whether the subpoena should be enforced. But there's a deadline for Google to respond. It's the 15th. Could that be something thrown at the last minute? To delay? Oh, if there's anything that Danielle Robertson or the layers can do to avoid information being disclosed, she is going to be fighting right up to the last moment. I wonder what she'll say. Wonder what she'll claim. Again, these are just questions. I wonder, will she claim like something about the information, this privacy, or it'll do harm to someone, or it's too invasive, or I wonder how she's going to persuade Google about the subpoena. Because that's what she would have to be fighting. Yeah. The subpoena, the deadline, the release of information. Persuade, convince Google, if Google has reached out and notified, and they are in talks going back and forth. There's a lot of if, then. However, Google typically will not deviate from legal protocols without a court ruling. So if there is a legal document that gets filed, I wonder whose name is going to be on it. But now, I don't want to get too far ahead of that. But I'm just simply, going down different what ifs. What then? A delay tactic, maybe? Do you think the defendant or Daniel Robertson, i.e. the layers, might try to create some delay, such as, I don't know, raise some type of challenge, procedure, something, hoping to postpone the compliance and try to, throw off the process, frustrate. Don't you think she or someone's been burning the midnight oil? Because if the response hasn't satisfied her where she thinks she's winning, and winning for Daniel Robertson is Google not disclosing any information that would, be part of that subpoena request. So, if she's not winning, then she's persuading right now. Or we'll call them the anonymous team of layers. Back to Google. Google is unlikely, again, to be swayed by personal persuasion, especially, in cases that involve serious allegations like cyberbullying and harassment. They have their priorities. Legal priorities, compliance. They got to stay on track. They've got to ensure that that subpoena's right there in front of them, that they meet the requirements by the deadline to avoid penalties. And yes, depending on the jurisdiction and regulations and all of this other. Maybe some unknowns we don't even know. Privacy laws, depending on the state and all that. Jurisdiction. Yeah, Google is going to adhere to regulations if it means, if it's law, to protect user data unless disclosure is, mandated. But Google is going to be transparent, like, notifying the defendant. Just, letting them know. Acting in accordance with legal and ethical standards. Should there be any release of information, they're going to be transparent about it. But this defendant, Daniel Robertson, without a doubt, has a documented history of cyberbullying and harassment. Documented. So, any attempt to persuade, to block disclosure could be viewed as further obstruction. You just never know how the court may look at it. Maybe the court will see through these efforts, especially if the evidence supports the allegations against them. Furthermore, think about this. If there have been any public statements by the defendant, Daniel Robertson, such as boasting about their, abilities, persuasion, who gon' check me, boom, all those things that she said, or intent to prevent their identity from being revealed, boasting about it, public statements, even the ones that have been deleted, that could undermine their credibility and strengthen the case against them. So whatever the defendant, Daniel Robertson, or her team of layers is doing right now, that is if Google has reached out to them. While they may attempt various strategies, let's say, because they're strategizing 3-4 steps to prevent disclosure of their information, it's still going to come down to Google's response will depend on legal merits of the subpoena, not personal persuasion. So stay right there. Don't bow to any pressure. No. Analyze this. That took me right to 1 hour and 4. If I take out the music, 60 minutes. Now I can come out. Did I tell you one of my listeners made a suggestion, and I think it's a very good suggestion, uh, especially for people who are listening and they're not making comments, they're not looking at the chat. They ask if I could just, try to remember, get everything out, my broadcast, and then leave the back and forth as much as possible. You see, I've read some of the comments. I broke it up in the middle. That way, I don't lose some of my audience who are here to listen to the story or whatever I'm broadcasting. Okay? So now, let me come out. I'll look at your questions. I see I have a couple of emails, but before I get to them, let me just see. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Oh. Wait a minute, I'm reading something. Okay. Patiently waiting. All right. Let's see if we can get through some of these comments. And then we're going to call it for tonight. Yeah. I like coming on a little bit earlier. All right. So we got Gia Papaya, Run from the Court, and Run from Google. Yes. Let's start there. Yeah. She's definitely going to try to run from whatever, from accountability. Yeah. We got Cheryl and the Bear Cave tonight says she claimed that if she's ever cornered, she would simply disappear like Kaiser Sose. If only we could be so fortunate. Okay. For someone, there must be like something so significant here. Why she's so afraid if she's exposed. There would have to be other people attached to it, don't you think? I'm really getting the feeling. That's why. I think maybe there's more people who might be a little higher up on the chain, that she exposing her will likely expose someone else. Mhm. Yes, thanks everyone for joining and supporting. Yes. Joanne says, Gia, she's too busy worrying about what Teddy's saying when she needs to be concerned about her own dilemma. This is nothing. You follow by saying, I truly believe that she hasn't responded. She will let Google terminate her accounts, yet her issue is that will Google forward her info to Kimmy. That's the issue. Mhm. Like cornered, like you don't have but so many options. Like if you respond, then you're in. Do you think she'll ignore Google? Okay. Anything's possible. She's just hoping that if she does that, it'll all go away. What did she say about all the fake documents she created on me? She said, they're a paper trail. That's all I'm creating is a paper trail. It doesn't matter if they're fake or not. They're real. It's a paper trail. It shows contact. It shows this. It shows that. Paper trail. You know who's got a paper trail? A digital paper trail. And connections to that paper trail? Yeah. Gia says, oh, she has it coming for her. She already lost to Kimmy, and she already looks dirty in the eyes of the law. Dirty Danny. That's Gia. Google's deadline is on the 15th, and all information will be provided in compliance with the court order. The key question is, what will be disclosed in the court documents regarding her anonymity? I mentioned that last night. What will be disclosed? We won't know until. That's why I kept saying something like, if there's one name, one link that can be made, depending on what's revealed, that exactly will depend on what, that's it, what will be disclosed regarding her anonymity, the account. Joanne says, I'll be watching the Mike Tyson fight on the 15th. But too many content creators have asked to know her identity. She's on high alert with Google. I doubt they'll protect her anonymity. There are certain guidelines. We can hope. Yeah. Vicky Black says, don't forget the YouTube lawyer. Black Rabbit says, or said, she will never find her identity. That's correct. She said it more than once. She was emphatic. They will never find out who Danny Robertson is. That's what Black Rabbit said. Never. And it caused me again to question, how would she know that? If you don't know her. So you mean you trust someone that much? Her friend, she said. Her best friend, she said. You know for certain, down the rabbit hole news. She knows for certain that they will never find her identity. Then what does down the rabbit hole news know about Danny Robertson's identity? Why it will never be found out? Or how shall I say this? Are we supposed to believe that she has complete faith, blind faith in someone who is totally anonymous to her? That they will never be found? She is that convinced of this person's ability. She swore by it. You're wasting your time, she says. Everybody's stupid. As a matter of fact, not even worth the bottom of her shoe. You will be the first one to know, Rabbit. I said, I'm going to make sure if her identity is revealed, you can put cotton in your ears. I don't care what you do. You're going to find them. That's right. You're going to find out the news. I don't care how you try to run and hide and deny your friend. You're going to learn if her identity is found out. Oh, you may have a hidden email address, but the news is going to get to you. Oh, yes. Just because you said she'll never be found. That one I would owe to you because you said it to me directly. Cheryl says, while Google may refrain from publicly disclosing her identity, they are required to provide it to the courts. Whether her identity will be redacted on Pacer remains uncertain, but we will know soon. We should know something, a link to that account, something factual, credible. She must hire a private attorney for Google, but it's still a little too late. That's Joanne. I do believe that she has hired a private attorney exclusively for Google. I would if I were her, because she can't handle this on her own. You know, not these pro se and make-believe attorneys and make-believe, you know, all these aliases. Hey, makeup, Diva and Curls, new job. Gotcha. Dirty 40. Over 100 paper trails. She said, really? Hmm. Yeah, Joanne said Black Rabbit thought that no one would ever find her identity, too. It wasn't me. Although she thought I did in a DM. Hmm. She thought I was behind something. I had nothing to do with her identity coming out at all. Hmm. Not the YouTube lawyer. Yeah, the YouTube lawyer, crime aficionado, researcher, all of that. Yes. Mhm. Professional, like she said, she was a troll. She had at least 10 troll pages. So she knows about trolling and trolling and trolling. Wonder how the two of them hooked up. Especially Blaine, who was talking to Black Rabbit almost every day. Emails, DMs, tweets. Yeah. Let's see. Cheryl said, per chat GPT, while anonymity is generally protected, it can be overridden by the court order if there's sufficient legal justification. Well, just don't know. Clock is ticking. Stay right there. Don't bow to her pressure at all. At all. Since she's so good at persuading, she's going to try to get a sympathy vote. Like she's the victim. Hmm. Stay right there. These emails are funny. All right, it is 9:26. Perfect. I can wrap this up. Again, you can email me at unwindwithteddy@gmail.com. Maybe in the morning, I will touch on some of the White House press secretary. I watched it all today. Her response and the press pool to the meeting between President Joe Biden and President-elect Donald Trump. Yeah. That's it. Biggest bear hug goes out to all the Grizzlies. Please hit the like on your way out. Join me tomorrow if you like. And shout out once more to those of you on X and Instagram and here on YouTube. Yeah. That's it for me. Thanks for watching. Until next time, I'm Teddy. Good night.